Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syahriman bin Muhammad, and today our group would like to present Chapter 6, Unemployment and Inflation in India.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nur Fazira binti Khalil. I will start with the introduction of India. First, we will look into the population in India. The country's population is currently 1.37 billion and is expected to expand by 230 million by 2050. India's population increased to 1,355 million in March 2021, up from 1,341 million in March 2020. For the main industry, India had 6 significant industries, which are iron and steel, textiles, jute, sugar, cement, and paper. In addition, there are 4 new industries, namely petrochemical, automobile, information technology, and banking and insurance. Next, for the India labor rate, in December 2020, India's labor force participation rate fell to 49.2%, down from 49.3% the previous year. So we will provide a chart to show the India's labor force participation rate from 2009 to 2020, and you can see that the rate is decreasing through the year. Next, for import and export, the Republic of India sent 275.5 billion US dollar worth of goods throughout the world in 2020. According to the most recent estimates by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, India's total imports increased by 50.5% year-over-year in April 2021. For the export, total exports increased 56.9% year-on-year to $30.2 billion in April 2021. In March 2021, India's trade balance was $13.9 billion in deficit. Next, for gross domestic product (GDP) in India, nearly 60% of India's GDP is driven by domestic private consumption and continues to remain the world's sixth largest consumer market. Apart from private consumption, India's GDP is also fueled by government spending, investment, and exports. So later we will provide you with a graph that shows GDP of India from year 2016 to 2020. Next, for economic growth, the long-term growth perspective of the Indian economy remains positive. However, the economy slowed in 2017 due to shocks of demonetization in 2016 and the introduction of the goods and service tax in 2017. India's GDP growth has been declined even before the pandemic of COVID-19 struck the world. From a growth rate of 8.3% in 2016, the GDP expansion has dipped to 7% and 6.1% in the following 2 years. The economic growth kept declining in the year 2019 to 2020, as it has been recorded at 4.2%. The last one, the relevant issues that relate to India is poverty. In the last few years, India poverty gradually steps in a downfall in the poverty rate. In 2019, the Indian government had noted that 6.7% of its population is below its official poverty margin. So comparatively, we can see that India is always a developing country. However, in 2020, India is considered to be extremely vulnerable to the pandemic's economic shockwaves, with lockdown severely curtailing activity. Daily wages were hardly affected by the pandemic and poverty line increasing rapidly comparing to before years.
My name is Mardia Binti Suleiman, and I will explain about the issue of inflation and unemployment in India. India inflation rate for 2016 was 4.5%, decreased to 3.6% in 2017, and 3.43% in 2018. However, it started to increase in 2019 to 4.76% and continued to increase in 2020 to 6.2%. It has become a major problem for their economy and give impact to their citizens. Unemployment rate in India is continued decrease from 2016 to 2019. In 2016, the rate is 5.51%, decreased to 5.41% in 2017, and 5.33% in 2018. It continued to decrease to 5.27% in 2019, and unfortunately, due to the pandemic of COVID-19 that led to the social distancing among the society, the unemployment rate has been increased to 7.11% in 2020. Types of unemployment. Technological unemployment happened due to advancement in technologies. In 2016, the data estimate that India IT service and BPO sectors workforce is expected to drop by 0.48 million people. Frictional unemployment is people remain unemployed for a brief period of time while looking for work or moving job. In India, this type of unemployment happened due to the different expectation of the work. Seasonal unemployment happen because people are unemployed at specific season of the year. In India, the rains is barely lasts for 3 to 4 months, and because of this, the farmers in the village of India is remaining unemployed for that period. Structural unemployment caused by a mismatch between available employment and unemployed worker skills level. In India, mostly of the rural graduates are affected because they will lack in communication skills and application knowledge. Cyclical unemployment. It is a subset of overall unemployment that arises directly from economic cycles of ups and downs. However, this type of unemployment is negligible in India. And last, vulnerable unemployment. The sum of the job status group of own account workers and contributing family workers. In India, this happens when people are employed but informally, without proper documentation or without a
I would like to explain the type of inflation in India. So the most accurate type of inflation in the past 5 years is creeping inflation. Creeping inflation, or also known as mild inflation, occurs when price rises not more than 3% per annum. The India inflation is calculated on Customer Price Index (CPI), a recurring basket of goods and service. In 2016, India inflation rate was 4.94%. In 2017, it was 2.49%. In 2018, it was 4.86%, and in 2019, the inflation rate was 7.66%. In 2021, the CPI increases to 5.52% in March, up from 5.03% recorded in February. Inflation in food basket or Consumer Food Price Index (CFPI) rise to 4.94% in March from 3.87% in February. Vegetable prices declined 4.83%, while cereal and product and sugar and confectionery segments saw prices fall 0.69 and 0.53% respectively.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabila Rosmiza binti Rosman, and I'm going to explain about the effect of inflation and unemployment rate in terms of social in India. The effect of inflation in terms of social in India is it will affect the final consumer of goods. In the simplest meaning is the people of India. This is due to the rising of prices of goods of the consumer lost their purchasing power. Therefore, they will having a difficulties in affording basic needs. Thus, the crimes in India will also increases. Next, what is the effect of unemployment in terms of social in India? Well, it will cause a major poverty issues because based on a relevant statistic, 2/3 of people in India live in a poverty. This is because due to the rising of unemployment rate, which when the supply of labor exceeds the demand of labor in the labor market. Therefore, the people in India will lose their source of income. Thus, it will lead to poverty and also a hunger issues. Next, the effect of inflation and unemployment in terms of economic of India. Well, the effect of inflation in economic state of India is it will cause a slowdown in the economy. This happens because the banks will increase interest rates as inflation increases to make borrowing costly for both consumer and corporates. Thus, people will buy more or less houses, cars, and other goods. Besides, industries will also not borrow money from banks to invest because the interest rate is high. By this, it will cause a slowdown in the economy of India because of less production and less investment in the country. Next, what is the effect of unemployment in economic states of India? Well, it will cause an unstable economic state. This is because unemployed individuals consume less than people who are employed. So, higher rate of unemployment can leave the economy lacking in terms of products sold. This can leave the organization with decreased revenue, thus lead to an unstable economic state of India.
My name is Nur Khairunisa Badru Hisham, And now let's move to causes of inflation in India. For the first causes is depreciation or devaluation of the exchange rate. The value of the dollar in rupee has climbed from 45 to 61, or in other terms, the rupee has lost 35% of its worth. For the second one is deficit financing of the government. The government transfers securities to the Reserve Bank of India when it borrows from it. The bank issues extra currency and circulate it on behalf of the government on the basis of these securities. For the third one is import prices or import push inflation. A rise in import prices of around 5% lead from 1 to 1.5 percentage point increase in local prices in India. The next one is external shocks. Domestic reasons such as consumption slowdown, liquidity crisis, and investment slowdown all are contributed to the economy's 5% growth rate, which is the lowest in the last 10 years. The next one is expansionary monetary policy. The Indian Central Bank's balance sheet has grown by 40.2 trillion from 42.6 trillion to 56.8 trillion. The last one is expansionary fiscal policy. The tax revenue in 2019 was 3.46 trillion, up from 3.33 trillion in the previous year. The reason of the high fiscal deficit is because coronavirus had hit the country.
Continue on the next slide. First and foremost, my name is Amira Shaida binti Abdul Wasani. I will explain about the causes that contribute to the unemployment. Firstly, it is because of the defective educational system. In India, the educational system is a shambles. It's failure to shape a human being's mental and physical aspect. Secondly, it is because of the increased population of growth. The population in India is more than 1.3 billion people. Since this country's economic growth cannot keep up with population increase, a growing proportion of the population is unemployed. Thirdly, ineffective or absent economic planning. In India, this is a major source of unemployment. No national strategies in place to account for the large imbalance between labor supply, which is plentiful, and labor demand, which is scarce. Fourth, less saving and investment. In India, capital is in short supply. Opportunity for employment have not been established due to the lack of saving and investment. Lastly, the reasons that causes of unemployment is immobility of labor. In India, labor mobility is limited. People do not travel to distant locations for work because of their loyalty to their families.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Sitina Hamiza binti Azman. My ID number is 2019827224. So I will explain about monetary policy. Monetary policy is the process by which the monetary authority of a country, generally the central bank, controls the supply of money in the economy by its controls over interest rates in order to maintain price stability and achieve high economic growth. In India, the Central Monetary Authority is the Reserve Bank of India, which is known as RBI. It is designed to maintain the price stability in the economy. India using monetary policy to solve inflation by open market operations and raising the base of bank rate. While to solve unemployment, they are using monetary policy by open market operations and lower the base bank rate. I will explain about fiscal policy. Fiscal policy in India is the guiding force that helps the government decide how much money it should spend to support the economic activity and how much revenue it must earn from the system to keep the wheels of the economy running smoothly. In recent times, the importance of fiscal policy has been increasing to achieve economic growth swiftly, both in India and across the world. Attaining rapid economic growth is one of the key goals of fiscal policy formulated by the Government of India. Fiscal policy, along with monetary policy, plays a crucial role in managing a country's economy. India using fiscal policy to solve inflation by decrease in government expenditure and increase in taxes, while to solve unemployment, they using fiscal policy by increase in government expenditure and decrease in taxes.